Hello and welcome back to another episode, a somber episode of Craven Some Raven. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about that divisional loss to those damn Tennessee Titans that the Ravens suffered. And it's a bummer. Just going to be giving my thoughts. I have not listened to any of the big media heads, haven't listened to anybody else talk about it because, I wanted to have my own thoughts. Didn't want them to sway my opinion on this game. And also, I just didn't want to watch any of that stuff because, frankly, I was upset. I had not gone through all stages of grief yet, as you could say. I don't know how many stages there are, 5, 7. Just add an extra one in there because it's football. It's just the 4 downs of grief, I guess, let's call it. I had a chance. I could have recorded it on Sunday after that game, but I was a little bit hung over, and like I said, not over the stages of grief. It's a real bummer. Football, as a football fan, it really tests your limit of your mental makeup. Watching sports, it's football is the most exciting and the most painful. When you get towards the end of the season, and we are just one of the many teams that will not be making the Super Bowl. 1 out of 32. Those aren't great odds. I think you have just as good a chance at hitting on roulette. Putting one coin down and saying, hey, this number is going to hit. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But you know what? I actually had a chance maybe on Monday morning, before my flights left and before I had to deal with a day full of travel. I had a 3-hour layover in Dallas, but you know what? Whatever. Yeah, actually in Dallas, I ran into, at the bar. I didn't really talk to him. I just saw him and said, hey, you're that guy. He's like, yep. He was in Mad Men. He was like the art director in that show. I think he was the gay guy. But anyways, ran into him. That was cool. I was like, hey, you're famous. That's what's up. Also, what the fuck? Still upset over these goddamn Ravens. But you know what? I rewatched the game. I'm feeling better about it. And you know what? We are in full off-season swing mood. I will be diving deep. I've already kind of started looking at some prospects. So I'll be coming at you with all that and all my findings and what I think the Ravens need and all of that fun stuff. So don't go anywhere. It only gets more exciting. One of my favorite parts of the NFL season or slash I guess, year. It's football's year round. I mean, come on. But one of my favorite parts is the building of a team, the roster building, the draft, all that fun stuff. It's one of my favorite parts. So at least we got that to look forward to. It's nothing but upside and looking positively at your team. So it'll be a lot of fun. And I hope you join me for that journey. I will need your help, of course, deciphering these players. But before we get to that, we got to talk about this game. How did the Ravens lose? Why did they lose? And the answer is fucking simple. Turnovers. Sound fundamental football. You turn the ball over and you don't play soundly, which is turnovers are part of that. You lose the game. There were 3 turnovers, not including the 4 missed fourth downs. I think 2 of those you could really call turnovers because they were 4th and 1s that we didn't necessarily have to go for. I think we were in field goal range for both of them. One of them I think we might have been like on the other side of the 50, but real close. But, we'll count them as turnovers. So 5 turnovers in any game, you are not going to have success. And the Titans, they were able to capitalize off of Ravens' mistakes. I think, looking at those turnovers, because that is the reason we lost, looking at each and every single one. That first one, a little bit of a high throw, but Mark Andrews, normally a sure-handed, go up and get him type tight end, real possession guy for us. He's got to go up there and get it. He can't, even if you get it, knock it down or, don't tip it up. Tip-ups are how you, get out of this league before your time is up. You tip it up over, it wasn't quite the middle of the field, but, he flipped it up, volleyed it up, and the Titans safety corner, I don't know what he was. He was just that guy that was there, and he was able to get the pick and take a little ways, give the Titans already in field goal range And really, that's the story with all of these. They had great field position all game. I think they only scored off of turnovers. So anytime the Ravens defense had to go up against Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and that offense, A.J. Brown, all these killers. Anytime they had to go any sort of length of the field, anytime they were in normal field position, at the 20, before the 20, where a drive normally starts, maybe inside the 30, they didn't have success. We stopped them each and every time. But we kept giving them the ball on our side of the 50 in short fields and really just put our defense in a bad spot. And the only way to get out of that is to get turnovers on the defensive side. And they just weren't able to do that. The Titans, they played a clean game. And that's what you need to do to win. The way the Titans have been winning, that's how you got to do it. And with the way with the Ravens too. They've been sound and fundamental all year. All of their losses, they've had multiple turnovers in. And this is just another example. And it's just such a bummer because it feels like a letdown, right? And the Ravens hadn't had a letdown since September, since they played the Browns and lost like 45-25. What was the score? I still can't hear it in my brain. All the Twitter fucking 45, whatever. That game was over with. But the Ravens, they had beaten who they're supposed to beat, and they had shown up and beaten the teams that were talented, the good teams, right? And when it came to the playoff time, was it rust? I think a lot of it will be pointed at, hey, they weren't ready. Lamar Jackson took 3 weeks off. But what people don't realize is that the players weren't rusty. I feel like the coaches were rusty. Obviously, the turnovers don't help, and that causes you to get out of your game plan. But still, it was still a low-scoring game. And it's like, why... It felt like they abandoned the run. Looking at the stats, it's like, how did they lose this game, right? I mean, I already kind of explained it. It was the turnovers because, look at these stats. I'm sure as Ravens fans, you've already looked at this. But, if you want to hear my opinion on it, you're going to get it. Team stats. Pull it up here. Total plays. The Ravens had 92 plays to the Tennessee Titans 53. That is not our game plan. We are the time of possession, grinded out, efficient playing style. And we just were not able to execute in that facet of the game. 92 plays and you lose? Come on. I feel like 60 is a lot for this team. On a normal day, 60 feels like a lot of plays, when they just grind it out, 10-yard or 10-minute drives, grinding it out. And so, that's not what they normally do, 72. Interesting. And then you look at total yards. Ravens 530 to the Tennessee Titans 300. Wow, 200 extra yards. Amazing. Some more penalties, 7 for 56 over the Titans, 5 of 20. Third down efficiency, 11 for 18 for the Ravens and 7 for 13 for the Titans. Fourth down, look at that, 0 for 4. And I think 2 of those were kind of at the end of the game where it's all right, you got to go for it. And neither of those were Lamar Jackson's fault. But the other fourth down conversions, I will blame Lamar Jackson for those. But we'll get to that in a second. Passing yards, 345 passing yards for the Ravens and 83 for the Titans. What? In the passing league, how did we lose? Turnovers. But you look at the passing line, 31 for 59. Efficiency-wise, that is on par with what we should have expected from Lamar Jackson. The reason he's had higher percentages these past couple weeks or all season really, it's because he hasn't had to throw, and he gets favorable looks because of his running ability and because of the way this offense is designed around the run game. So when you pass it 59 times, you're going to get exposed. You're not going to get the favorable looks because they know you're passing. And so everything that happened after that, I think some of the turnovers, that's what we would have gotten if we would have done this all season. But the game plan wasn't sound for the playoffs, wasn't executed. It's hard to say what exactly went wrong, like who's more to blame. But, back to what I was saying earlier with the rust factor, you don't forget, it's not just the players. The coaching is half the battle. And they also had a bye week. And it seemed like coaching wasn't up to par. And I know we do a lot of the run-pass options, so a lot of it is left into Lamar Jackson's hands. And so was he supposed to throw it each and every time? I don't know. I'm not in the fucking meeting rooms. But when you see pass play, it's like, well, what are we doing, Greg Roman? I mean, did we not break a rushing record that's been standing for 40 years? So breaks rushing record, a team rushing record that's been standing for 40 years, and then goes out and throws it 59 times. And it's like, well, there's your fucking reason. You're not doing what your team is built for, what you've built on, like what you have done all year. And they didn't even play terribly. Lamar Jackson played lights out. I mean, it's just everyone else didn't show up. There's a couple just mistimed mistakes. And that's really all it is. Sometimes football is simple like that. You make more mistakes than your opponent, you will lose. Because honestly, the Tennessee Titans game plan wasn't that great. We were able to generally stop Derrick Henry. But then when you look at the yardage, Derrick Henry, 195 yards. I was like, what? It didn't seem like he was the one doing the backbreaking. At 195 yards, it seems like a game Derrick Henry took over. He had a couple long runs, but other than that, something that I think you should have expected. I said before, we should expect Derrick Henry to get his. But we bottled him up pretty good when we needed to, it seemed like. But the defense was put in those terrible situations where if Derrick Henry gets 5 yards, it's a touchdown, right? They're on the Baltimore 30, and it's like, oh, well, just throw it up a couple times. I don't know, run Derrick Henry a couple times. He's good for 15 yards. And it's just mistimed, bad situational football. I mean, even look at the time of possession. We beat them in time of possession. We beat them in first downs. We beat them in pass first downs. We beat them in rushing first downs. And it's just a fucking bummer. I mean, Lamar Jackson, though, he still shined. He put up another double triple. I mean, 365 passing yards and 143 rushing yards. That is retarded production, accounting for like 90-something% of the Ravens' offense. But you can't put everything on the shoulders of a 23-year-old quarterback. Now, obviously, they did that earlier in the season, it seemed like, but really, the production was more spread around. They were able to be more efficient with their running game. And when you abandon the run, that's what happens. Looking at the abandoning the run, Gus Edwards, 3 for 20, 6.7 yards per carry. With only 3 attempts, what the hell happened? I understand Mark Ingram not having the production, even though he had a couple good runs where damn, Mark Ingram's looking good. Let's keep feeding that man. Because when you feed that man, it opens everything up, right? Play action pass, run the ball, and then throw it over their heads. That is a classic strategy that's been going for years, and it always works. It gets the defense in a bind. But when you stop running it, the defense stops fearing you. And all those favorable matchups, like I was saying earlier, they dissipate and go away. And then you're asking Lamar Jackson, not the best thrower of the football, to put it all on his arm, and that's not his game. And it seemed like they were asking him to throw outside a little bit more. And that works, right? When you do have those favorable situations, when it's always one-on-one. But with all these guys, with all the run game not working, it's a struggle. And to me, Lamar Jackson, his throwing, his talent at throwing, it's more of a touch pass. It's more of a deep touch pass. And when you're throwing it to the outside, you can't put touch on the ball. You got to zip it in there. You got to line drive that mofo, right? And I'm no QB expert, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it works, right? When you're throwing outside the numbers, you got to beam that ball in there. Throw it almost faster than the wide receiver can catch it. But, like I said, he's more of a touch passer. If anything, I could be wrong, but watching him, seeing him play, he seems like he's got good touch on the ball. And you can't do that throwing outside. Too much time with the ball's in the air, someone's going to jump that route. And it happened on one occasion. He was throwing out to Miles Boykin on a quick out route. Maybe, I don't know if it was quick. It was like a mid-range out route. It would have been good for a first down. It was a little bit behind him, and the cornerback was able to get his hands out there and catch a nice fingertip interception. It's like, damn it, great play. That one's on you, Lamar. You can't do that. Another turnover he had was that fumble behind the line where there's a sack strip. And, on that play, it's like, Lamar, you can't clutch and pump 4 times. When you put so much on his plate, 59 attempts, when you put all of it on his arm, eventually you're going to get a bad play. He gets flustered. Something happens, their pass rush is able to get after it. So he had guys all over him. But on that specific play, you got to get rid of the ball. You can't pump it 4 times, especially, you pump it, some guy nearly misses you, you duck out of the way, and then you pump it 3 times after that. That guy, you should be able to feel that guy is still bearing down on you. And Lamar Jackson was not able to do that, fumbles the ball, giving the Titans great field position again, and then they score again. I talked about, recording momentum or whatever, and anytime the Titans were getting a turnover, all of a sudden their offense is like, hell yeah, let's go ahead and fucking get this bad boy. And then they would. And the Ravens just didn't have an answer. But it's like, if we don't turn the ball over, we stop them on defense. Anytime it was just a regular old possession for them, we were able to stop them. And that's what pisses me off, man. Is like we demolished them in the stats in the game. And that's why you got to look back and say, hey, stats don't fucking matter. Lamar Jackson, it wasn't padding the stats, but, the stats don't fucking matter, right? I mean, if you're not efficient with it, like he had been all year, where it's like, oh, he only threw it 20 times, but also threw 5 touchdowns, what is that, right? How many times? I think it was twice this season where he had more touchdowns than incompletions. Like I said, that's favorable looks because of what he brings to the table and the rest of the running game. And, just picking and choosing the right time to throw. And they just were out of that bright and early in that game. Down 14-0, and it's like, all right, come on. They go down, get a field goal, can't quite get it. And it's just such a bummer, man. It's such a bummer. Welcome to the offseason, am I right? Yeah, it just fucking sucks. Especially going down to that game, being excited, and thinking the Ravens had a great shot. I really thought that the Ravens were going to do something special, even if they don't win the fucking Super Bowl. I didn't think they were going to lose to the Titans. Is that resting on your laurels? I don't know. Is that not coming in unprepared, looking past your opponent? I don't think it is. I just think they turn the ball over, and when you turn the ball over, you lose. If you're going to point to one stat in the NFL, I've said this multiple times, and I'm not the originator of this. This is common knowledge. But if you're going to point to one stat that is indicative of wins and losses, it is the turnover ratio, right? I mean, so you look at 4 fourth down misses. That's 4 turnovers right there, plus the 3. 7 turnovers, there's no way you can win. And honestly, I wouldn't count 2 of those because it's at the end of the game. You have to go for it. But, 3 legit turnovers and then 2 on 4th and 1. And those 2 fourth and 1s. We have Gus Edwards. Are we not going to fucking use him in short yardage? He is a go run straight up the gut. Go fuck yourself. I'm hitting this hole. He's that kind of guy. That's what we needed on those plays. But instead we give it to Lamar Jackson. And obviously it's worked before. And if you're going to, depend on anybody, put it in the hands of your most exciting electric player, right? But, I mean, Lamar, he made the wrong reads. One of them, he got stopped. It's like you could have gone even more outside. He didn't just press forward, which is what they should have done. I mean, credit Tennessee, they blew it up a little bit, but Lamar Jackson, you gotta go outside more. If you're gonna go to the outside, it looked like it was open, and it's just, damn it, man. Come on, guys, get the fucking game going. And it was just a fucking bummer. Going to that game, seeing it live. The stadium was electric. It came through the TV a little bit when I rewatched the game. You could hear the stadium was pretty loud. But we got out of it pretty quickly. There was a Titans fan where I was. He started yelling a bunch of shit. And I was like, yo, shut the fuck up. No one cares. I don't know. He got into it like minor argument with the guy, but it's like, yo, you're in Baltimore, dude. Don't be yelling for your team. Realize what city you are in. Edgar Allan Poe suffered the same fate, not realizing where he was, and that's why we are now the Ravens. I mean, you gotta listen, bro. If you're gonna go to a Ravens game, realize you're in Baltimore, known as a pretty dangerous city. I don't know if it really actually is, around the stadium or whatever. But really, any football fan, if you're going as a visitor, just lay low. Maybe clap, be chill with it. Maybe a little bit of trash talk with the fans. But if you start going up, that's when you really need to just be like, all right, buddy, I'm just going to, that old like Kermit the Frog meme where he's just drinking, that should be your plan, right? That should be your plan visiting a stadium. And this guy wasn't doing that. And I was upset. Obviously, the stages of grief, right? It was denial and anger at that point. I'm on acceptance now. I don't know. Depression. I don't know. I'm not depressed about it anymore. It is what it is. I thought they could have done it. Really thought they had something special, but they didn't. I'm over it. I wish they would have won, and it's very easy to see why they won. Tennessee Titans played sound, fundamental football, and the Ravens did not. The Ravens were definitely the better team, I would still say, which sounds crazy because they lost, but you just look at the production. That should tell you everything you need to know. And that's why, it's like all three phases or whatever. You got to be good on all three phases, and I think you should add a fourth phase, right? Plasma, water, liquid, gas, plasma, and that plasma state is the sound and fundamental. Don't turn the ball over. Offense, defense, special teams, and turning the ball over. You can't do it. It's just a real bummer because now our season's done and we get to watch the Titans versus the Chiefs, and it's like, man, who do I want to see win? I would like to see the Chiefs take the whole thing. I think Andy Reid deserves one. I am a fan of their offense. Not when we're playing them, but I'm definitely a fan. Patrick Mahomes and the way he's lighting up the football field. I don't know. It's kind of a bummer to hype up someone else right now, but they're exciting. I would like to see them win, but at the same time, it's if you get beat in the playoffs, you kind of want to root for the team that beat you because it's like, what? If we're gonna fucking lose, we better lose to the goddamn winner. All right? It makes us look better somewhat, right? But I don't really see that happening. It's also like, yo, you beat us in the playoffs. Fuck you guys. I want you guys to get dominated. I want you guys to go crying home to your mommy. I want you guys to be pissed off. It is such a fucking bummer. And like after that game, it started raining. We're in the tailgate section. We were in Lot H. Just waiting for all the cars to clear out just because there's no sense in just being mad about the game and being stuck in your vehicle. That is one way to get in instant arguments with anybody who's next to you. Is being mad at the world, smacking pillows. I don't know. It's just a fucking bummer, man. So it started raining and I was like, oh, this is perfect, It's just a great metaphor for how I'm feeling. Right as the game ends, just dump on me, right? Just bring the world down. It felt like there's one cloud in the sky. It is raining on me. Oh. But, like before the game, it was exciting. It was electric. Everyone was ready. It's just fucking turnovers, man. Fucking turnovers. I got a chance to meet up with Fred from Birdland, Fred and Scott from Birdland BS. Got a chance to talk with them when I went over to their tailgate. They were actually doing a Facebook Live thing, so I jumped in on that. So if you're listening to me because of that, if that's how you found me, that's what's up. I had fun talking to them, but of course, all my predictions came true did not come true. I was really hyped on the Ravens, just saying like they're gonna fucking dominate, gonna destroy. I said something like Tennessee Titans better pray to Jesus and hope that the refs have crucifixed this game. I said some stupid shit like that. God damn it! That's why that's the one thing that sucks about actually not covering, but talking about the Ravens. Throughout this whole season, when shit goes bad and you have to eat your fucking words. You got to humble yourself like, well, I guess I don't know shit about nothing. But, at least some of our players showed up, right? Marquise Brown balled the fuck out. That fucking catch, amazing. When I was watching live, I was like, holy shit, did he catch that? Marquise Brown balled out that game. And he should be our number one receiver. Going into next year, he is going to have a full offseason to get healthy after seeing what he did in the playoffs versus what a lot of people were saying in A.J. Brown, who was the better rookie receiver. He didn't do shit that game. But Marquise Brown balled the fuck out. And so, we got some good stuff heading into the future. A lot of young talent. We have quite a few free agents. So we will have to dissect all of that. I don't know if I'm gonna do that right now, but in a future episode, we gotta break down the free agents. We gotta break down who I want the Ravens to draft. We gotta discuss, how the Ravens should draft, who they should keep, all of that fun stuff. We're gonna definitely dive deep into that. I've already got some players picked out that I do like, and it's just, damn it, because we had some guys show out. It's just an up and down game for everybody. A lot of miscues. Seth Roberts dropped a catch where I was like, man, you fucking had that. You probably could have skated into the end zone off that. And then there's like a Hayden Hurst. He just didn't turn around, and that would have been a touchdown because it was right at the goal line. I think it was 3 yards out, and with the I guess momentum he was running with, he wouldn't have been stopped. He was going into the end zone. And earlier in a game, Hayden Hurst caught a ball, and I didn't catch it, live, of course, because I couldn't hear it. But rewatching it on the game, you hear him, throw me the ball. It's like, yeah, hell yeah. And I remember saying that in the stands, can we please get it to the tight ends over the middle? Can we get it to Hayden Hurst? Because he had a catch earlier, and it's like the guy obviously wants to catch the ball. And then later on, he gets a perfect ball to him, and he fucking drops it. So, untimely drops. But that's what happens when you keep the ball in the passing game, right? You're gonna have drops. I mean, we don't have, this was a common thread in the offseason. Our wide receivers aren't up to par, right? And it's just, god damn it, just untimely drops. Lamar, he definitely didn't have his best game throwing, but I mean, really, he had so many positive plays, and he had more negative plays just because of how much we put the ball in his hands. There's, 143 rushing yards too. The guy, there was a couple downfield runs. I think he had 3 of them. 2 of them were just like, holy shit. He just made 5 people miss. That it's fucking ridiculous. His cutting ability, he was explosive, he was electric. It's just, you can't put everything on the quarterback. You can do that, and sometimes it works out. But up against a team that's playing sound and fundamental, some good smash-mouth football, it's not going to work. If you're going to try to finesse a win up against a bully, it's not going to fucking work. And the Titans kind of, bullied us at the end there. Obviously, I think we stopped, at the end of the game, we stopped Derrick Henry quite a few times. It was looking good. It's like, okay, we can get this. And fucking turnover, right? Ravens didn't produce. And what do you know? Oh, we lost. So, yeah, man, just a bummer, being drunk. It's like, fuck. It's just a fucking bummer, man, because it feels like a waste. It's just like we had all of it, how is this team ever going to be as good because of how historically great this team was? How can you ever expect them to do it again? But a lot of the young pieces are still going to be there. It's just now we got to deal with the free agency, and I know Matt Judon's going to be a big topic. And, in that game, he didn't really produce on one of those long Derrick Henry runs. Instead of going low, he went high and trying to stop him. I think it was a 3rd and 1. Matt Judon tried to smack him behind the line of scrimmage, and he didn't wrap up. When you don't wrap up, you don't use technique, you're not going to bring him down. That dude's too big. So it's like, all right, Judon, you want to get paid. You should have shown up more. You couldn't have missed tackles. You had to have gotten a sack. You had to have been balling out if you want us to re-sign you, and he didn't. And early in the year, it seemed like he was kind of betting on himself somewhat. So the bet did not pay off in the playoffs. Pay off in the playoffs. So now we are in full off-season mode. We are going to be joined by 30 other teams. So it's okay. a lot of franchises are dealing with the same frustrations. It's just none of those other teams had as high of expectations, I think, as the Ravens being the best team in the league, which is, at least they had the best record, They've beaten all the best teams except for the Chiefs this year. Not all of them, but, they just had a great run playing up against the toughest of competition and winning, and then going up against the 6th seed, someone who sneaks into the playoffs, you could say. I don't know about they snuck in because they were kind of riding high, but, they were the last seed for a reason, and they lost to them, the hot and upcoming team. Do I want the Titans to win? I don't fucking know. I want their hearts to be ripped out, and I also want them to win the Super Bowl. So, if both could happen, that would be the perfect situation and scenario. And it's just a bummer because I imagine all the talking heads, if they're blaming Lamar Jackson, they did not watch the game. It's just the Ravens got in their own way and allowed a hot bully. A hot bully. Hey, bully, you're sexy. No, just a hot team. A bully of a team come in and out fundamental you. And if you, especially at home, it's can't do that. So, I don't know, man, just a bummer. But I had to talk about this game. Had to get my opinions out. I've gotten more views, on my Titans video. So obviously some Titans fans getting in there. Got one comment. Where's the fucking video after y'all got stomped choking on that bird cock or whatever? Some bullshit like that. Whatever. Well, here's your video, bro. Congratulations to the Titans. Go fuck yourself. It's a real bummer. I FaceTimed my buddy who's a Titans fan after the game. And I was like, I hate you. You're the worst. Fuck the NFL. I just hung up. Real bummer. Real bummer. But that is life as an NFL fan, am I right? And, and recovering it, now you have to, eat your predictions, eat your words, and explain to the people. What the hell happened, man? Well, it's clear and obvious, and I feel like I've explained it long enough. So there's your goddamn review of this fucked up sport that is the NFL. You fickle bitch, NFL. You son of a bitch. You did it again. You found a way to disappoint me after a great season. I'm divorcing you, football. No, we're just on a break. We will be back. We will be stronger than ever because we have a young nucleus that has lost being the team that snuck into the playoffs, lost being the number 1 seed, and these young players have gone through the fire. Iron sharpens iron. Heat hardens tools. I don't know, man. Forged in the fires of whatever bullshit. We lost, and it sucks, but they will be back. They're still going to be a great fucking team. We have a ton of draft picks, and that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to see these Ravens reload and take over the NFL once again, getting the number 1 seed once again, hosting a playoff game once again, and winning it next year. All of our coaches are coming back. The coaching carousel came and went. Merry-go-round went and came around, and none of our coordinators were picked up. So we're coming back another year in the Greg Roman system, another year Lamar Jackson work. Seeing what he improved from year 1 to year 2, I don't expect as big of a leap because I don't think you physically can make that big of a leap, but I think he still continues to work and improve. I hope in the offseason we see videos of Lamar Jackson passing to Marquise Brown going up against Marlon Humphrey. I think that is the best situation. Those 3 guys, if you're going to boil it down to the 3 major position groups, that can do one drill, the quarterback passing to the wide receiver versus your cornerback. And those are, our electric quarterback, our best and most dynamic receiver versus our best, most aggressive, physically gifted, talented cornerback. So I want them to all get together and sharpen each other, right? Iron sharpens iron, and those are some iron players. And they are our nucleus. When you're talking about nucleus, talking about our young, talented, homegrown talent, all 3 are all three are first round draft picks. All three were pretty dominant in their performances. I would say Marquise Brown, the least of that, but he also didn't get as many chances, whether it be through the offense and his injury. But I want to see these three going at it, attacking the offseason, making themselves better. Obviously, bring everybody else in. But if I were to, name three guys that practice together each and every day, Marlon Humphrey going against Hollywood Brown gives him a chance to go up against a small, speedy receiver, someone great in and out of his cuts. It's going to help him in the future. Next time we have to play Tyreek Hill, not comparing the two, but they are both small, faster receivers, so it'll help him there. And obviously Marquise Brown going up against Marlon Humphrey, it'll teach him how to go up against a big physical cornerback and juke him. And then, Lamar Jackson there throwing it to him, timing it up right, because Marquise Brown showed up in the playoff game. That is something that cannot go unnoticed. When you're especially this year, I think in the offseason, you always put a little bit more oomph on, how did these college players play in a bowl game or whatever. But I think that's usually like a third or fourth kind of tier, needs in a player. I think I'm definitely going to raise that a little bit. I'm going to be looking at players that when the moment is biggest, they perform well, because the Ravens 2 years in a row where they lost in the first game in the playoffs. The biggest game, the biggest stage, and they just don't show up. So I want only players that continue to show up in big games. Ball out in the regular season, but when it comes crunch time, they show that they have the will to win, where they have that extra little switch in their brain, like, you want to fucking go? Let's fucking go. I don't know, some swagger. Either way, that's what I'll be looking for. I'll be discussing all of that because I already got some players of mine, like I've said, and I can't wait to talk to you Ravens flock about them and why I think the Ravens should draft them, why Eric DeCosta needs to get on it, because we have a real opportunity to make a great run. Young nucleus, or I don't know, just a young group of players that have had some success but also faltered to those same kind of situations. Some of it is because this is a fairly young team. They haven't been there. They haven't done that. But they are talented and skilled. So like I said, going to get forged in the fires, man. You will become a heat-treated part. You will become a hardened steel that will make a great offensive and defensive weapon. Like a sword and shield. I don't know. But we will get into that. We have a chance. I only see positive things for this team. Lamar Jackson is only 23 years old, and he's already done so much. There's not enough time in the day to say all of his accomplishments. As Ravens fans, we know all of them week after week, just getting awards, lighting up the league, and even in the playoff game, lighting up the game. So now that I've done this, maybe I will go ahead and listen to the talking heads and see what they have to say. They probably bring up some good points that I didn't think of, or maybe just reworded what I said. I just didn't want them to influence my opinion because they do all the time, and I'm sure they probably also said some stupid shit. I saw someone on Twitter posting about Reggie Bush and saying, "Did you even watch the game?" So, yeah, I'm sure there's some great stupid takes. I think all the doubters, I still think they haven't gotten there. I told you so moment. That won't come until he's injured, or if they make the playoffs again and lose in the first round again. But we will see this as in the words of Mark Ingram, the story is unwritten. There's a lot to improve upon. A lot of it just situational, fundamental football. You cannot throw interceptions. You cannot turn the ball over on downs. You cannot fumble the ball. These are all things. I don't know how you work on them. I guess you can. Obviously, Lamar Jackson did because he had a great year when it came to turnovers this year. He was just saving them up for that playoff game. So, I don't know what else to tell you besides, fuck, man. This sucks because it's just such high expectations. You get the first seed and you lose in the first round of the playoffs. Come on, man. Come on. It's not what you're supposed to do. But they choked, man. They really did choke, and I hate that phrase, but I mean, if you look at how they played all year to how they played in that game, yeah, it was a choke job. They choked. But it's not just the players, it's the coaches. I think the coaches did a little bit of a choking job too, obviously. I think coaching in the NFL is more important than any other sport. Obviously, getting the plays in, doing all that fun stuff, calling the right stuff for the right situation. It feels like maybe the coaches, they hadn't coached in a couple games, right? So, it's just a bummer. You sound desperate. If you sound too positive, you sound like a fucking idiot. If you sound depressed, it's like, get over it. It's just fucking football. There's no good way to talk about a loss. It sucks. It feels terrible. If you're a Ravens fan, you know my feelings. But if you're like a Titans fan listening to this, any smirk that you got on your face, I hate you and I don't like you. I'm sure you're cool. I don't know. But it's just a bummer. And I know the Titans, they know this pain. No fan base is unfamiliar with this pain other than I don't know. You could say the Patriots, but they've had losses in the playoffs, and they know what it's like. Everybody knows how much losses suck. So have some sympathy for your fellow Ravens fans. Get them, lend your neighbors some sugar. Be nice to them. Say, howdy, Bob. Top of the morning. How about them Ravens? Yeah, nope, they didn't do it. It's a real bummer. And it just sucks because I spent money to go to the game. And it's like, fuck, man. What could I be doing with all that money that I bought those tickets with? I could have bought like better equipment for the podcast, but whatever. Could have bought like a fucking 10 kegs of beer and just drowned my sorrows. There's so much room for activity, so much room for opportunity, but didn't get there. We're sitting at like 42 minutes right now, so we might as well just go ahead and end this depressing fucking episode. Oh, welcome to the offseason. All right, go. Ravens. No, we will not end on crying. Go fuck yourself. Let's prepare for a great fucking offseason. Eric DeCosta has already proven to me, and I think the rest of the Ravens flock, that he knows what the fuck he's doing. So let's get this, boys. Let's capitalize on this shit opportunity and go into next season and dominate. Let's go, Eric DeCosta. Let's go, Ravens flock. And let's go, Ravens.